Hello, my name is Teddy. Today I'm going to look at lists in Python. Lists are simply data types that are in a collection format, that are normally indexed, are changeable, and allow for duplicates. So we're going to look at different ways of how to create a list and other operations like adding items to the list, accessing lists, and others. Before I get started, kindly click our subscribe button and the notification icon to get updated of any upcoming tutorials. So first we're going to look at how to create a list. So we're going to say we initialize a variable and say a equals to square brackets. Then we can use strings, lists, or integers to initialize a list. So we're going to say a, then we are going to give it a b. We're using a string, then c, then d, right? So if we print a, we're going to get a up to d, right? So if we check the type is should give us a list. So it's class list, so that's our type. So it shows that now we have created our list. So you can also create a list using integers. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So if you try and print b, what are you going to get? You're going to get 1 up to 4, right? So this also is a list. You can use a type to check. So the next thing we're going to look at is how to add items to the list, right? So let's say we want to add items to a. So I'm going to say a dot append let's say e, right? What do you get? If you print now it should have an e. So it's a up to e, right? So you can see e is appended at the end of the list. So if you want to add our e at let's say position 1, so we have 0, this is a position 0, then this is position 1. Our indices are normally set from 0 going upwards. So this is position 0, position 1, position 2, position 3. So it's always n minus 1. So if there's 1, then it's at index 0, right? So if we try and add, let's use insert. We're going to use insert. So we're going to say a dot insert at position 1 another letter. Let's say letter G, right? So if you're going to run this, what are you going to get? A, G, B, C, and D. So this position 0, which is index 0, then index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, right? So that's how we add items to a list, right? So next we're going to look at how to access a list, right? So we're going to check how can we access the first value in our list, right? So this value 1 or value a, let's still use a. So we're going to say first value will be equal to, right? So I'm going to say a, then 0. So it will be at index 0. So if we print our first value, what are you going to get? A, right? What about if you want to get a C? So C is at index what? 0, 1, and 2, right? So we are going to put our 2 here. So that will not be our first value. Let's say x value. So if we print that, we are going to get our C, right? So that's how you can access your values in a list. So there's also negative accessing. So you can access an element at position D in a negative way. So you can say or using a negative indices. So you can say y value is equals to a negative 1, right? So if we print our y value and run this, what are you going to get? You're going to get d, right? So when you start indexing from the right side, we start at negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, then this will be at negative 4. So if we try and put here negative 4, right, we are going to get our a. So that's how we can access elements in a list, right? So you can also access elements from position A to position B. So I'm just going to demo that. So let's say you want to access, let's say M is equals to A. You want to access from position 0 up to position 2, right? Or the elements of that list. So if you print M, what are you going to get? We're going to get A and B. So what we are doing here is accessing element from position 0 up to position 2, excluding position 2. So so it starts from position 0, then position 1, but to exclude the final position, right? So that's how we have done it here. So you can also do a negative accessing of certain elements. So you can say n is equals to A, right? Then you want to access from negative, let's say negative 4 up to negative, let's say 2, right? So our starting point is negative 4. So this is our negative 4, then it goes up to negative 2, right? So it's negative 1, negative 2. So we are going to exclude negative 2. So we are just going to get A and B, right? So if you print our n, what are you going to get? You're going to get A and B. So if we change this and say negative 3, what are you going to get? You're going to get only a B, right? So that's also another way of accessing elements in a list. So we can also access elements in a list from the first position up to a certain position, or from a certain position, without having the start and the end. So what does this mean? Let's say you have elements, you want to access elements from 0 up to 4. So what do? You say L equals to A, then square brackets, then you put a full column, then you say what? Let's say 3, right? So if you print your L, what are you going to get? You're going to get A, B, and C, right? So you're starting from position 0 up to position 3, excluding position 3, right? So if we try and change this to 2, then remove the end value, what are you going to get? You're going to add elements from position 2, which is this one, 0, 1, 2, up to the last position, right? So it's our C and our D here for the scenario of A, right? You can also iterate through the elements of a list using a for loop. So you can say for J in A, right? Print a J. So this is our A. So if we run this function, we are going to get A, B, C, and D. So we have iterated through our list, starting with the first up to the last. Okay. So having looked at this, next we are going to look at how do we modify our list, right? What do we mean by modifying a list? What we mean by modifying a list is changing some of the values in our list. For example, if you want to change the first value to read something else, that's what we're going to do in our next step. So let me just copy this, right, and then comment this, comment. The list is getting longer, so paste it here, right? So if you want to change the first value of A, which is A, what are you going to say? You are going to say A, then index of O, right, is equals to modified, right? What happens if we print our A? We are going to get modified B, C, and D. So that's how we modify our list, right? So next we are going to look at how to delete some of the elements in our list. So for you to delete your list, or the first element, we're going to say delete, right? I've seen it, right? And then you say A, then O, right? And then if you print A, what are you going to get? We're going to get B, C, and D because the first one is deleted. What if you want to have an empty list? So I'm going to use what we call clear. So I'm going to say A dot clear, right? So if you print your A, what are you going to get? You're going to get an empty list, right? So what if you want to delete now the whole list? What you do, you say delete A, right? What happens if I print A? You will get an error. A is not defined because the whole list is deleted, right? So that's how you can delete the whole list. So we're also going to look at others of how to remove elements from the list. So you can say A dot remove what? Let's say remove A, right? Or let's use another string. Say A dot remove D. So if you print our A, what are you going to get? You're going to get A, B, and C because the D is removed, right? This is one of the function that we can use to remove an element from the list. So I'm going to say A dot pop, right? So if we add an index, let's say index 3 or index 2, it will remove that element. If you just say A dot pop, it's going to pop the last one, right? So if you print our A, we're going to have A, B, and C because the last one is removed. But if I want to remove the first one or at index 0, what I'm going to do? I'm going to use our index 1. So I'm going to remove our B. If you run this, will remain with A, C, and D, right? So that's another modifier that is used to delete or to remove an element from our list, right? So far I have looked at how to create, access elements, and modify and delete some of the elements from the list. Those things are essential when you're doing algorithms, right? So the last thing that we need to do is how to modify our list, right? So let me just copy the two here. This is our B. We're not using them up here. Let me just comment. So these are B. So we're also going to look at how to join lists. So what we're going to do, we're going to say C equals to A plus B, right? So if you print C, what are you going to get? ABC up to 4, right? So that's how we join our lists. The thing we're going to look at is how to sort lists. So what we're going to do, we are going to use the sort function. We're going to say to sort list A, we're going to say A dot sort. So if you print our A, what are you going to get? A, B, C, D. If you change this to, let's say, E and run, what are you going to get? A, C, D, E, right? So it's ordered in alphabetical order. So if you try and add here and say reverse equals to true, what are you going to get? I'm going to get that is ordered in a reverse manner or in a descending manner, right? So that's how we sort elements in a list, right? So there's another way of sorting these elements depending on a certain function. So let's quickly define a function here and modify some of these values. So let's say A, B, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, that one, right? And so we are going to sort depending on a certain conditions. So we're going to create a function just to check the length of these values. Then we sort by the length of these elements in a list, right? Let's create def function, then we say element E, then we return the length of E, right? So we're going to sort depending on the length of the values, right? So we're just going to say key equals to function, right? We don't need this. So if we try and run this, what are you going to get? You're going to get this one is the first one, then the second one, third, and the fourth. So these are certain number of elements, certain number, certain number, certain number. This is the lowest, this is the highest. So if we say reverse equals to false, right, we are going to get in an ascending order, right? There it is. So this is how you can sort depending on a certain condition that you want in your list of elements, right? So we have so far looked at how to join lists. We've looked at how to sort lists. So you're also going to look at another parameter where you want to search for an element or the first occurrence of an element in a list. So let's say in B you want to search for 3. Let's have many 3s here, right? So what do? You say element equals to B dot index of what? Of 3, right? So if we print ELM, what are you going to get? You're going to get index 2, right? So here's 0, 1, then these are 2. So you only get the first occurrence, right? Next, we're going to look at how to count how many 3s do we have in B, right? We're going to say M equals to B dot count 3. If you print M, what are you going to get? We are going to get how many occurrences of 3? There are 3. So if you add another 3 here, now that a list takes duplicates, I'm going to get 4, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So I've looked at that. So you might also want to clone or to get a clone of your list or to copy your list. So we're going to look at that. So you use what we call copy. So I'm going to say L equals to A dot copy, right? So we're just going to print our L. If we print our L, what I'm going to get? We're going to get exactly what we have on A, right? So that's the easy way of doing it. And finally, there are 2 things that we need to look at. First is how to find the length of a list or the number of elements in a list. So we use what we call len. So I'm going to say L equals to len of A, right? If you print AL, what are you going to get? We're going to get we have to get 4. So we have 4 elements in A. What about in B? In B we have 10 elements including the duplicates, right? So that's how we find the length of our list. Then we're also going to look at how to find if an element exists, right, in a list. So we can say if 1 in B, right? And say print exists, else print does not exist. So if we, let's comment this, if we run this, we're going to say 1 exists, right? But if we say put a value of 16, 16 does not exist, right? So if we check in our list in our list B, 1 exists but 16 doesn't exist. Okay. The other things that you can look at if you want, but these are the basics that can keep you get going. So if you like this tutorial, kindly hit a like button, comment, and also subscribe and share with friends, okay? Because knowledge is about sharing. Thank you for listening. See you in the next tutorial. Stay locked.